So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News and Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs within a short span of time within 30 minutes. Now, just watching this lecture would be job half done. Because, like I say this always in the beginning of the lecture, just after watching this lecture, you need to revise it as well. Why? Well, revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget them. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided along with this lecture, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram platform. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Alright, let's begin today's discussion, but first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall discuss today. Now, let me tell you in advance that today's newspaper was also not that heavy when it comes to civil services related news, because most of the newspaper was dedicated towards the recent tragic events at Pahalgam, Kashmir. But still, we were able to salvage some news items that can be important from the perspective of civil services examination, and some of them are related to the recent chain of events that started in Pahalgam basically. Okay, so number one topic is Cabinet Committee on Security. As you guys all know, in response to the terror attack orchestrated by Pakistan, Government of India has taken certain stern actions against Pakistan, which includes putting Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, right? Now, these decisions, for example, visa cancellation, putting Indus Water Treaty in suspension, all these decisions were taken by Cabinet Committee on Security. So it becomes pertinent for us to know what this Cabinet Committee on Security is, what are its functions, what is its role. So we'll discuss this. Then, recently the role of Supreme Court is being criticized by many people in the government. Okay, and some people who, for example, Vice President of India or the Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Jagdeep Dhankar ji, he also criticized the role of Supreme Court, especially with respect to usage of Article 142, and he has called it judicial overreach. Okay, so what this Article 142 is, why its usage is considered judicial overreach, and what are the debates surrounding this entire issue. We'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about an article that featured in the Indian Express newspaper with respect to food adulteration. India has a lot of problems when it comes to contaminated food. Okay, so we will talk about this issue, what are its consequences, what impact it has on the general health of the population, and what measures has the government taken to stop this menace. Food adulteration, basically food contamination, right? So we will talk about these three issues only. Okay, so let's start discussing these issues one by one, starting with issue number one, which is Cabinet Committee on Security. So recently, CCS took decisions in response to Pahalgam terror attack against Pakistan, which includes the decision of holding Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. Now, CCS, Cabinet Committee on Security, is the apex body on all matters related to security of India. Okay, all matters, whether the matter is related to appointment of chiefs of different national security agencies, senior appointments in national security agencies. These decisions are also taken by Cabinet Committee on Security. All policy decisions with respect to internal security and external security of India. Well, all of that, everything, every major decision at the policy level when it comes to security of India is taken by CCS. Okay. Now, CCS, Prime Minister is the chairman of CCS, and it has 4 cabinet ministers as its members. Okay, so membership includes Prime Minister as the chairperson, then Defense Minister, Home Affairs Minister, Finance Minister, and External Affairs Minister. Okay, so these 4 ministers, along with Prime Minister, they constitute Cabinet Committee on Security. Now, what is important for us to know is, what is this thing called Cabinet Committee? Because there are other cabinet committees as well. This is just Cabinet Committee on Security. There is Committee on Economic Affairs, Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs. So what is this committee called Cabinet Committee? So let's talk about this, okay? So first of all, cabinet committees are those committees which are not mentioned in any law made by Parliament or in the Constitution also. That is why these cabinet committees are known as extra constitutional bodies. Now, the thing is, all major decisions of the government at the central level are taken by cabinet. Okay. Now, cabinet is a bulky body. It contains many ministers, cabinet ministers. Now, all of them cannot sit at once to take all these decisions. Government has to take many decisions on a day-to-day basis. Okay. And government has to take many major decisions also. But all cabinet ministers, more than 40 cabinet ministers, cannot sit every time and then take all these decisions. The workload would be immense for this cabinet. Therefore, the role is divided within this cabinet. Okay, so there are various committees within cabinet. Okay, which basically takes care of certain parts of the government or certain areas of the government. Okay, so when it comes to security, well, some cabinet ministers are nominated to CCS and they take decisions with respect to security. When it comes to political affairs, some ministers are nominated to cabinet committee on political affairs and they take all the major decisions with respect to political affairs. Same is the case with economic affairs, right? So basically, cabinet committee is a tool for division of labor within cabinet. Okay, so these are extra constitutional bodies. That means they have no legal recognition or they have no constitutional recognition. They were created to reduce the burden on union cabinet by creating smaller groups for decision making. Now, generally, each cabinet committee has 3 to 8 members, and mostly the members of these cabinet committees are cabinet ministers. But sometimes non-cabinet ministers or other people are also invited to these cabinet committees as special invitees. Some senior IAS officers, security personnel, they are also called in these meetings as special invitees. Okay. Now, every government has the authority to form their own cabinet committees. Okay. So, as soon as the government changes after every 5 years, new cabinet committees come. So, it's completely at the discretion of the executive, the government of the day. Now, in this particular government, this particular Modi government, there are 8 cabinet committees. Okay. What are those 8 cabinet committees? There is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, Political Affairs, Investment and Growth, Security, which we are talking about right now, Parliamentary Affairs, Employment and Skill Development, Accommodation, and Appointments Committee. Okay. Now, these cabinet committees are constituted and reconstituted when a new government takes over. So, every new government has their own. Okay. For example, Manmohan Singh government, UPA 1 and 2, had 12 cabinet committees. The Modi government has 8 of them. So, it's completely the prerogative of the government of the day. But, like I said, all the major decisions of the government are taken care of by cabinet. But to basically make cabinet more efficient, a tool for dividing labor or dividing different tasks that cabinet has to perform, well, that is devised, and that tool is called cabinet committee. All right. Okay. Now let's move on to topic number 2, which is a little controversial when it comes to political affairs. Okay. Article 142 of the Constitution. So look, recently there was this controversy regarding Tamil Nadu governor and the state government of Tamil Nadu, led by their chief minister. Okay, they were having a tussle of sorts, and that matter went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court ruled in favor of state government of Tamil Nadu. Plus, some of the decisions of Tamil Nadu governor were basically finished off using Article 142 of the Constitution by the Supreme Court. Now, this usage of Article 142 of the Constitution is being criticized by some members of the government. As in fact, Vice President of India said recently that it is like a nuclear missile against democratic forces. Okay, why democratic forces? Because people in the parliament, okay, they are elected people, but people in judiciary, well, judges basically, they are not elected people. So they are saying that sometimes Supreme Court uses Article 142 to undermine parliament and the executive, right? So recently, Supreme Court had invoked Article 142 in the recent judgment related to Tamil Nadu government, and central government basically was really angry with this judgment. Okay, state government of Tamil Nadu was very happy, But central government was not happy. Central government said that it's a matter between center and states. Judiciary has no role to play in this apart from just interpreting the constitution, right? But usage of Article 142 gives some extra powers to the Supreme Court, which some governments or some people might criticize. Okay, so in this case, Article 142 was used. Article 142 has been used many a times. Now, in some of those times, people have criticized the usage of Article 142 as judicial overreach. That means judiciary has overstepped its limits. Now, what is Article 142? First, we need to know this. Then only we'll understand this term judicial overreach. Okay. Now, Article 142 grants the Supreme Court discretionary power to issue orders necessary for doing, this word is important, complete justice in any case or matter pending before it. Now, you have to understand this thing to really understand why Article 142 is controversial. Okay, so pay close attention. You see, our Indian state, okay, or the government basically has three organs. Okay, executive, which is the prime minister and his council of ministers, legislature, okay, and judiciary. The functions of the government have been divided between these three organs. Okay, so it's the job of the legislative to make laws. Okay, it's the job of the executive to implement these laws. So whatever laws would be made by the parliament or the legislature would be implemented by the executive. That is the job of the executive. Okay, and the function of judiciary is to interpret these laws. Interpret constitution. Okay, so judiciary's role is interpretation, legislature's role is making of laws, and executive's role is implementation of those laws. Okay, now judiciary will step in if any law is violative of the constitution, because the final power of interpreting the constitution lies with the judiciary. The judiciary will step in against the executive if it finds that executive is not properly implementing the law or is going against the law. Okay, because judiciary's role is interpretation of the constitution. That is the major role. Clear? But what if there was no law made by the parliament? Okay, but Supreme Court passed an order that had the function or role of a law. So when law is not there, Supreme Court, using Article 142, can basically pass a judgment that would in effect create a law. Okay, so for example, some years back, Supreme Court, using Article 142, basically passed an order that there would be no sale of alcohol on the national highway, 500 meters within the radius of those highways. Now, whether there should be sale of alcohol in the vicinity of national highway, that is the job of the legislature to make laws on it, or the executive to implement any law. How can judiciary pass this basically judgment? Because in effect, judiciary has created a law by passing this judgment, right? Now, this is the power of Article 142. Now, this power was envisaged in the Constitution for basically allowing the judiciary to do complete justice. But many people argue, not many people, some people argue that sometimes this is misused. Okay? Or judiciary enters into the domain of legislature and executive. This is the thing. Okay, that is why he said Article 142, in his opinion, is a nuclear missile against democratic process. Okay, because law is made by the representatives of the people. It is implemented by representatives of the people. Okay, but judiciary can, in effect, encroach upon these powers of legislature and executive using Article 142. Okay, now some of the features of this article, well, it is completely discretionary. The judge of the Supreme Court who is passing this order has complete discretion. He can anytime pass any order using Article 142. The enforcement is that any order passed under Article 142 shall be enforceable throughout the territory of India. Scope, it enables Supreme Court to address issues where existing laws may not adequately provide a remedy. So maybe the law is absent or the executive is not taking any action. Using 142, Supreme Court basically is doing the job of legislature. Okay, and this is something that people criticize. Okay, now what are the actual exact criticisms leveled against Article 142? Okay, first criticism, like I said, is that of judicial overreach. It has been criticized on various occasions for encroaching on legislative and executive powers or conflicting with existing laws. Sometimes this article has been used to go against a particular law. Okay, for example, ban of liquor sales along national highways to a 500-meter radius. Now, this is the job of executive, state government, or legislature. But judiciary entered this domain using Article 142. Plus, it is completely discretionary in nature. Okay, discretionary means it lies on the whims and fancies of a particular judge who is giving a judgment. So, there is basically vulnerability, or not vulnerability, there is basically a threat of subjectivity in this. Okay, plus it goes against separation of powers doctrine. Okay, I just explained to you the separation of powers doctrine. It means that the judicial, executive and legislative functions of governments or of government should be separated. This is the separation of powers principle. But through Article 142, judiciary enters the domain of executive and legislature, and that in a sense violates this doctrine. Okay, so it's a controversial matter, because the thing is that using Article 142, Supreme Court has also done some very good things, okay, which the legislature of the day or the executive of the day were not doing. So many good things have happened using Article 142, but people say that it is not the job of the judiciary to do those good things. Okay, the job of the judiciary is very well defined under the constitution. It should stick to that. That is the criticism, basically. Clear? All right, now let's move on to the last topic of the day, which is issue of food adulteration. Now, the prevalence of adulterated food should set alarm bells ringing in a country that is grappling with both communicable and non-communicable diseases. India is suffering from a huge burden of communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases. Okay, and well, this huge burden is partly caused by poor nutrition levels of our population. Okay, nutrition levels are really bad when it comes to the Indian population in general. Okay, now poor nutrition levels can be because of your bad dietary habits, but it can also be because of bad quality of food, right? Now, this bad quality of food is really creating problems when it comes to communicable diseases burden, non-communicable diseases burden, right? Because if you talk about non-communicable diseases, one non-communicable disease is diabetes. And India is known as the diabetes capital of the world. 7.7 crore people above 18 are suffering from diabetes. And diabetes can be solved through proper nutrition levels. But this is not happening. Plus, when we talk about, well, children, as per the latest National Family Health Survey, which was conducted between 2019 to 22, in children, under 5 stunting, that is low height, is 35.5%. That means because of poor nutrition, 35.5% of our kids are below average height. Wasting, again, that is related to poor nutrition, and underweight. Clear? Now, all of this can be solved through good nutrition. But even if people change their dietary habits, what will they do about contaminated food, adulterated food? And that is a huge problem in India. There have been examples in the past. Okay, so for example, in 2011, National Survey on Milk Adulteration found that 70% of milk samples were bad quality. Okay, so 70% of milk in India was of bad quality. 70%, that's huge. In fact, very recently, Hong Kong basically banned some spices of Indian companies, okay, Indian brands like MDH, Everest. They sell spices. Now, India is known for its spices all over the world, but Hong Kong actually banned these spices. in their territory. Why? Because they were contaminated with some toxic chemicals. In fact, European Union has banned some 400 items between 2019 to 2024 that come from India because they say they are heavily contaminated. Some European Union lawmakers have also raised concerns with respect to ethylene oxide levels present, ethylene oxide contamination in Indian spices. Now, bad quality food is harming our exports like Hong Kong and EU, but more importantly, it is harming our health. Okay, so we need to do something about it. Now, we need to also know what are the laws in place with respect to good quality food. Okay, so these are the laws and rules. Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006, which created Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, that is responsible for quality food in India. The National Food Security Act also says that it shall ensure food security of good quality food. Basically, not just food security, but nutritional security as well. Then, under Food Safety and Standards Act, there were some rules that were formed, like Food Safety and Standard Rules 2011, licensing and registration of food businesses, packaging and labeling regulations. So, these are some of the rules and regulations with respect to food quality. Then, we talked about this organization called FSSAI, which is responsible for safety of food in our country. Okay. Now, about this body. So basically, it is a statutory body. Why? Because it was formed under a law made by Parliament. This law. Clear? It is also an autonomous body that functions under Ministry of Health. Okay. What are its functions? So it sets global standards for food quality, encourage and ensure that food businesses adhere to those standards, adopt good manufacturing and hygiene practices, ultimately enable citizens to eat safe, access safe and right food. Basically, this body ensures safe and quality food, right? But surely, maybe FSSAI is not being able to do its job properly. These rules and regulations are not being able to do their job properly. That is why food adulteration is a big concern in India. All right. And with that, we conclude today's session. Now, my advice to you would be please do not forget to revise this lecture. Revision is extremely important, otherwise, you will forget these current affairs. Okay, so please do not forget to revise. All right. On that note, I would be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Stay tuned, everyone. Thank you.